I'd like to welcome everyone to the webinar series of the Cybersecurity and Information Systems Information Analysis Center, CSIAC. Today's presentation is entitled DoD Modeling and Simulation Catalog, the 2017 update. My name is Steve Warzala. I am the CSIAC Outreach Manager. A few administrative notes before we begin. First, all phones have been muted except for the presenters. Questions may be asked at any time during the presentation by utilizing the chat function. And time permitting, your questions will be answered at the end of the session. Today's briefing slides will be posted online within a few days. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge and thank our sponsor, the Defense Technical Information Center, DTIC. The funding that DTIC provides enables CSIAC to conduct these webinars. Now I'd like to introduce our presenters for today's webinar. We'll hear from Rachel Orzechowski and Pauline Johnson, Program Managers for Simventions, Modeling and Simulation Management Technology Group. Simvention supports the development for the Enterprise Metacard Builder Resource Tool, referred to as EMBR or the EMBR Portal. In addition to these development activities, they also provide help desk support for both the M&S Catalog and EMBR by responding to end-user inquiries, supporting outreach efforts, and other demonstrations as needed. We'll also hear from Tammy McClellan. She's the Program Director for Information Systems Technology at the University of Central Florida's Institute for Simulation and Training. She and her team oversee the development for the M&S Catalog search and contribute functions, as well as operating and hosting the physical server supporting the M&S Catalog and the EMBR portal. I will now turn the presentation over to Ms. Orzechowski. Good afternoon, Rachel. The floor is now yours.
Good afternoon, Steve, and thank you for hosting this webinar today. On behalf of the Defense Modeling and Simulation Office, we will cover the background and history of the features of the Defense M&S Catalog and EMBR. We will close out the webinar with a brief Q&A session and a final summary review. The DoD has outlined a strategic vision and goals for M&S to promote the sharing of tools, data, and information across the DoD Enterprise. This strategy seeks to make M&S data products, which we call assets or M&S resources, discoverable and available for reuse to senior leaders, managers, and developers with an authorized user account. In aligning with this strategy, the M&S Community of Interest was formed to provide a collaborative technical forum to advise and influence the DoD Enterprise on technical issues involving M&S data, metadata, and data-related tools and IT services. Working groups were formed, and the M&S Community of Interest Defense Metadata Schema was developed to standardize the metadata captured about M&S for purposes of easily sharing common information across the community. The Defense M&S Catalog was then established by the Defense Modeling and Simulation Coordination Office to support the visibility component of this strategic vision and provide an avenue for M&S organizations to make resources available for reuse. These points support the two value propositions that make up the catalog's concept of operations, which are local management and enterprise discovery. As we move through this webinar today, you will see how the concept of operations has been satisfied by the components that make up the M&S Catalog. Following various prototypes, the current instantiation of the M&S Catalog was introduced in 2014 to establish visibility into the M&S resources across the DoD Enterprise. The catalog, as we call it today, holds about 10,000 assets provided from over 60 organizations, and through its robust Google-like search engine, allows people to find, assess, and reuse what is being produced throughout the DoD. The catalog also supports federated searches, expanding its reach into other data repositories, which we will show you later in the presentation. In short, the catalog has access to thousands of assets and resources, such as models, simulations, tools, and more, which can be discovered, reused, and repurposed, saving DoD organizations time and eliminating spending money to develop what is already available and can be used as is or modified for reuse. The IBM Watson Explorer product is used to support the Enterprise Discovery Interface. This technology platform uses natural language processing and machine learning to reveal insights from large amounts of unstructured data, much like Google operates. Using a custom interface designed to support M&S, as you will see when we look at the search process and results, the search experience in the catalog is very similar to a Google search experience. Not only does the search result match the text entered in the search window, contextual matches are offered as well. The catalog is also comprised of a web service architecture uniquely designed to support the electronic publishing of M&S Metacards into the catalog. Using XML, or Extensible Markup Language, and a common data schema, the MSC DMS, to pass the data from one system to the other, the human-in-the-loop effort is reduced, and there are instantly multiple methods to contribute and manage resources that are shared to the community for enterprise discovery. There are two primary ways to contribute resources for enterprise discovery to the M&S Catalog by using the system-to-system web services established. You may use EMBR or your own organization's repository or registry system. In both cases, you maintain local control and management and choose what you publish to the M&S Catalog. EMBR is an acronym which stands for Enterprise Metacard Builder Resource. EMBR is a GOTS tool developed to assist organizations in creating metacards and tracking them. EMBR is the tool through which M&S Catalog holdings are updated, removed when no longer functional, and populated with new data. EMBR is essentially a catalog in and of itself, which feeds or publishes to the catalog the same type of data that is searchable in the catalog. EMBR is divided up into secure partitions, with each organization having a dedicated partition for its own use. Organizations can store their resources in EMBR and can choose to publish those records to the catalog for discovery by the M&S communities. Records in the catalog can also be unpublished through EMBR, updated, and then republished to the catalog. EMBR, in short, provides the mechanism to keep the catalog data up to date, as well as serving as a local catalog. Alternatively, organizations who already have an established system for tracking M&S assets can continue using their own system. This method would require some programming by the organization to export compliant metacards and send them electronically to the M&S catalog through the system-to-system publishing method. The organization still remains in control of which records they choose to publish. If you're interested in contributing M&S resources to the M&S catalog, you can contact the M&S Catalog Help Desk, and the catalog team will be happy to assist you in getting started with EMBR or setting up publishing for your existing system. No presentation deck would be complete without a slide with statistics. The M&S Catalog is pleased to have over 60 organizations contributing materials for discovery and reuse, and the number of contributors continues to grow. You will notice as you search the catalog that the number of records changes frequently. This is a result of organizations curating their records, unpublishing out-of-date or unusable records, and replenishing the catalog with newly updated records or new records to share. DMSCO works with organizations to support their data curation needs. If your organization would like assistance in managing existing records or contributing new records, you can send an email to the help desk and we'll be glad to help you through that process. This past fall, DMSCO updated the user registration process. Over 300 users registered for the catalog and/or EMBR, and we see new registrants signing up every week. Part of the new user registration process includes an increased security measure. If you do not log into the catalog or EMBR within 35 days, your account will be deactivated. The next time you attempt to log in, you will receive instructions on how to reactivate your account through a simple process. This helps to keep your account secure and protects the catalog from unauthorized access. Access to the catalog has also been expanded to federal agencies, and we have new users from DHS and NASA using the catalog as a resource. Lastly, EMBR 2 was implemented in March of 2017, providing a simpler interface and enhanced capabilities to create, edit, and manage your data. And in this webinar, we will share the new EMBR screens and processes with you. The M&S Catalog, which contains only unclassified data, is still protected. Access is limited to those with a DoD-approved PKI certificate meeting the assurance level of medium hardware, high assurance or equivalent, that represents a DoD CAC or PIV. Authorized users of the Defense M&S Catalog include DoD employees and contractors and federal employees from specified agencies and associated government contractors. More details about credentialing and access requirements are available on the catalog's website at https://mnscatalog.misco.mil. Everyone requesting access goes through the centralized registration process. In this process, contact data is captured and credentials are identified for account approval. Once approved, the registrant receives a confirmation email from the catalog and has access to the catalog and/or EMBR depending on which tools were selected on the registration form. It is important to understand, as you use the catalog, that all the information displayed within the catalog is unclassified. The data on the Metacards, as we call the records, can describe classified materials or resources, but the text that describes the resource and any supporting files that are uploaded into the Metacard record must be unclassified. Now that we have shared the background and foundational concept of the catalog and who can access the catalog, Tammy will highlight the main features and functions of the M&S Catalog.
Thank you, Rachel. To access the M&S Catalog, our PKI certificate should be inserted into our computer. Then we enter the URL https://mscatalog.misco.mil. Then we can see quickly that we can either log in or register. We're going to assume that we're already registered and choose Login. The landing page then displays after we successfully log in, and you can see that the M&S Catalog is ready for us to enter the text for our search. Above the search bar, the resource icons allow you to narrow the search. By default, the All icon is selected. Just under the resource icons, you will see a checkbox to include federated sites. Checking this box includes external sites in the search about to be conducted. Selecting the link will display the current sources that are searched during a federated search. If you have any questions on advanced search techniques or filtering results, you can select the question mark icon located to the right of the search box to open a user manual. Let's move on to searching. From the landing page, after we select the resources we wish to search and whether or not we wish to include federated sites in the search, next we start to type in the search bar our text. For purposes of this demo, we will enter the search term tsunami. As we begin to type, the catalog starts to search and return possible terms and phrases below the search box. At this stage, we have three options. We can finish typing our search term and select the magnifying glass to launch the search, or we can select the magnifying glass to the right of the search bar and display all of the match records that exist up to this point for the letters that we have typed. Or the third option is we can select one of the resources in the drop-down window that's displayed, and that will filter out all other match responses. For purposes today, we're going to select the magnifying glass to display all of the resources that match the text that has been typed in. The catalog's powerful search engine displays results that match the text we entered in the center section of the page. In the outer columns, metrics and visual analytics are displayed in real time. Results can be refined by applying any of these filters. In the lower right corner of each Metacard row is the origin that the Metacard was found. Our first record exists in the M&S Catalog, but other results may reflect being found at DTIC, for example, if the other sources for include federated sites was checked before we conducted the search. To the right of the resource title, we see several icons available. These icons can be used to quickly view relationships that this Metacard has to other Metacards, make a comment about the resource, or open a quick preview of the record without leaving this page. Below the title, you will see the first sentence or two of the description of the resource. Another great feature available from the search results page is the ability to create your own folders and categorize the resources you locate during your various searches. This makes it easy for you to quickly return to those resources at a later date. Located in the right pane next to the search results is a section called My Searches. Using the button labeled Add Folder, you can create any number of folders to organize your searches by. Once a folder exists, when you are viewing the results of a search, you may either drag and drop the resource title bar for the result into the folder, or you may check the box to the left of the search result and choose the Actions button to select the folder to place the resource in. Checking the boxes allows you to place several results into your folder at one time. There are other features available to tag and rate the results as well, but since this is not an actual training session, we won't demonstrate every feature. So let's continue on to review what a Metacard looks like. When we select a resource from the search results page, we are able to read the details about the resource available to us. A description of the resource, along with important milestone dates, is listed at the top of the page. Point of contact information follows that section, and we are provided actionable email addresses so we can select an address to email the point of contact right from within the catalog. In the upper right corner of the page, there are options to add a comment to this Metacard or export the content in XML format. The catalog also provides a visual display of any related resources on the right side of the screen in the relationship diagram. We can also make the relationship diagram larger to take a closer look at the resources that are related by selecting the double arrow in the right-hand corner. If you are aware of resources that should be related to the asset being viewed, you also have the ability to add those relationships by using the search option located at the bottom of the resource relationship diagram. You can add and remove relationships that you create, but not those created by others. The catalog also displays the related resources in a table format at the bottom of the screen. Okay, well, we have now shared some information about the catalog, and I'm going to pass this on to Pauline, who will now present an overview of the features and functions for EMBR, which is a companion tool for the M&S Catalog. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Tammy. You know, as you all have seen, searching in the M&S Catalog is really simple. It's actually very fast, and it provides discovery to thousands of M&S resources, both within the catalog and in the catalog's federated sites. And now that we've looked at searching within the catalog, you might be wondering, how do records get entered into the catalog, or how do records get updated once they're actually in the catalog? And that's what we're going to talk about now. As a GOTS tool, EMBR functions much like a catalog while it supports the M&S Catalog. Organizations can enter data into their own EMBR partition to store, track, update, and then publish as desired their metadata to the M&S Catalog. There are over 60 organizations with Metacards in EMBR today, with the potential of being made available in the M&S Catalog too. So we're going to take a look at these EMBR functions. Once you log into EMBR, you have the ability to access records that are available to you. You can create new records, which will be owned by you, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. You can publish your records to the M&S Catalog. You can update the records that you own and manage the records that you own. And you can visualize relationships between EMBR resources. We're going to walk through some of the more common processes and features of EMBR, and let's start with the login process. What you're seeing on your screen now is the EMBR landing page. Once you've registered for EMBR through the centralized registration, and you'll note that EMBR requires credential validation just like the M&S Catalog. But once you've registered with the appropriate certificates in place or a CAC card that you've inserted into your CAC reader, you can access this EMBR landing page and log in to the EMBR portal by simply selecting the Login button. EMBR will present the home page to you, and you're ready to search. But before we search EMBR, you'll see that EMBR has already done some searching for you and displays Metacards that are available to you. And what you see on the screen now is a list of all the records that you, as the person logging in, would own, all the records that you have created. And instead of manually scrolling through your Metacards to find one that you're looking for, just like in the catalog, you can search for the specific resource that you need. So in this demonstration, when I type my search text into the search field, just like Google, EMBR returns matching Metacards. And from this results page, by selecting the appropriate icon, I can view a Metacard, I can edit the Metacard, view relationships that this Metacard has to other resources, and I'll demonstrate that to you in just a few moments. I can even tag the record so that it's easily accessible from my home page without having to search for the record again. Creating new Metacards in EMBR is really very straightforward. You first decide whether you want to create a Metacard that describes a person, an organization, or a resource, and then you select the appropriate form from the Create drop-down menu. These drop-down menu selections appear at the top of every page in EMBR so that you can create new Metacards very quickly and easily. So for today's demonstration, we're selecting Add New Resource to show you how to create a resource type Metacard. When adding or creating a new resource within EMBR, there are several sections or data groups that are available to describe your resource. Data groups with required fields like keywords, dates, and the basic information for the Metacard display an asterisk after the group's title. So we'll start with the Basic Information tab. It's going to contain the title, the description, and some other really important data points. You can see here that the information required and requested by the form is very simple, with self-prompting text in each field to describe the data that is to be entered. Some of the fields are drop-down menu choices, and some of the fields are free-form text. I'd like you to notice that the title bar for this group includes that asterisk, and the fields that are required on the form also have the asterisk after the field name. So it's very clear which fields are optional and which fields are required. And for today, I just want to call out 3 important required fields that are in this section. The type field, which describes the Metacard data type, identifies the resource as data, a model, a simulation, or some other type of resource. And this field is filtered, meaning you can filter out records by their data type when you search for records. Secondly, the resource classification field describes the classification of the resource itself, not the information on this Metacard. This particular resource is confidential, so I selected confidential as the classification. But we need to remember that all of the data describing this resource in the Metacard must be unclassified. And then thirdly, the resource releasability field describes who can access the resource, not the Metacard. Additional tabs on the form provide optional features, such as the Uploads tab, which allows you to upload unclassified files, such as a PowerPoint deck or a document. Any files that would be of value to the M&S practitioner can be associated with and made available for download from the actual Metacard itself. With thousands of Metacards, many have a relationship with other cards, so you can associate resources together, and EMBR users can see the relationships between the Metacards through the Relationship Viewer. Once all of the required data has been entered into your card, along with selecting any of the optional features, the Metacard is ready to be saved. So our Metacard has already been saved, and from the resource summary, we can see that the Publish button is on the right side of the screen. So with one click, I can make this resource available in the M&S Catalog. After publishing the Metacard, I'm now back on the landing or on the search page. And as we mentioned previously, resources within EMBR can be related to other resources within EMBR. To view Metacard relationships, we simply select the Relationship Viewer button, and our next screen will display the relationships between some of our Metacards. Selecting the Relationship Viewer button presents our powerful searching and filtering feature. We use different symbols to represent the different Metacard types. On this particular screen, we see two golden triangles, which are resource Metacards. We see two green squares, which represent organization Metacards. And the third shape is a blue circle, which indicates a person Metacard. Shapes and colors consistently communicate the data type to the viewer. There are additional visual functions built into the viewer, such as the ability to filter by using the filter options on the right side of the screen. And further, selecting a blue plus sign reveals additional related cards, and it allows you as the viewer to dig deeply into the interconnections between the resources. We saw in this brief presentation that EMBR, as a GOTS tool, allows organizations to work within their own partitioned workspace. Users can create and edit Metacards to manage their assets. Relationships between Metacards can be established and with filters used to delve deeper into available resources. And lastly, Metacards can be published to the M&S Catalog. The M&S Catalog is a very valuable repository which stores thousands of M&S assets created by many different practitioners across the DoD. Supporting the DoD goals, the holdings of the catalog promote visibility and reuse of resources throughout the DoD, and we do encourage you to register and start using the M&S Catalog today. Now, if you're like me, you might wonder, well, what's in the plans for the catalog in EMBR moving forward? Well, DMSCO is focusing on enhancing your experience as an EMBR and M&S Catalog user in several ways. And one important way is reviving the Catalog Users Group in 2018. This group will be open to all M&S practitioners and stakeholders and will provide a channel through which you can communicate to DMSCO your wants and wishes for additional features and functions in the future. And DMSCO is also exploring ways to improve catalog search capabilities and to expand the current features in EMBR to support data management and curation, helping you to keep your records up to date in the best manner possible. The feasibility of adding the catalog and EMBR applications to the SIPRNet is on DMSCO's roadmap as well. And more information about the users group and other catalog endeavors will be provided through an email from the Catalog Help Desk as we get closer to launching.
At this time, we welcome any questions from the attendees. Please direct your questions to either Tammy for the Defense M&S Catalog or to Pauline regarding EMBR.
Okay, well, thank you. This is Steve again. So we do have a few questions from the audience, and one individual, indicates notes that industry represents probably the greatest opportunity for the utilization of these various models and simulations. So it's a question of how open the access. How can industry utilize it? I think you mentioned the PKI and PIV, but could you just go over those items again so folks clearly understand what they need to do to be able to access the catalog?
I'll go ahead and take that. This is Tammy. Yes, a client certificate, PKI certificate, is required. That can come in the form of a contractor DoD CAC card that someone in industry is able to obtain, or if they're working with a federal agency, there are PIV cards that are also available to contractors. So that would really be the first step, is obtaining that. And then from there, you access the URL for the catalog, you fill out a registration form, and your information is reviewed and you're approved.
Okay, thanks, Tammy.
And and Steve, this is Rachel. I was also hoping to chime in with that. I think the feedback regarding industry use of the catalog is a valuable one, and I would highly encourage anyone who is attending this webinar or listening to it later to be on the lookout for that catalog users group, because that is the best way to make their requirements known to our sponsoring organization. And if obviously that's not a guarantee, but understanding that there is a requirement for that access, also perhaps the ability to work with industry leaders to pair with their government representatives to get data into the catalog is another opportunity.
Oh, okay. Well, and that kind of actually ties into the next question. Once again, it was from an industry perspective, and if they have developed models and simulations that could be valuable to other users. So what would be the process for them to go about trying to get the applications they've developed into your catalog? How does that process work?
That's a great question, Steve. This is Pauline. And we've actually worked with some industry commercial providers to make sure that they have the ability to access the catalog or to contribute to the catalog. We work closely with DMSCO, and we've had situations where an industry group wanted to contribute to the catalog, but we needed to assist them in making that contribution available in the catalog. So if they fall outside of the standard registration process and are interested in contributing, we work closely with DMSCO for the right security permission for those groups or those organizations, and then we take them on a case-by-case basis. But I would say that the perspective is that we really would love to have more of industry participate, and that is a very positive contribution that can be made to the catalog.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I think that's I see a strong tie here with the being able to support the Better Buying Power initiative, trying to avoid that duplication of effort, the reuse, the trying to make things more cost effective. So I think if more folks that are aware of this and can utilize what's available or add to the base of tools that you have, I think that would be great. So that's one of the reasons we like doing these the webinar, to try and make more folks aware of the what's out there, what they can take advantage of, and so hopefully we'll get more activity in this arena. So one of the other questions was just kind of, it may have been covered, but if you could kind of go over it again, just what so somebody logs in, maybe they're new. So how do they go about, determining, identifying what assets may be available in EMBR that they could take advantage of? If they're, like I said, maybe we've got a new person that's registered and is just trying to find out what resources they might be able to leverage.
That's a great question. Much like the catalog, when a new user enters EMBR, they have the ability to search EMBR for all the records that they have the ability to see. In EMBR, the default security level for new Metacards that are created is what we call World Read Denied. And that means that when I, as a user, I create a Metacard, I'm the only one that can see that Metacard unless I choose to make that Metacard available to the entire EMBR community or to a different group within EMBR, or even to just an individual within EMBR, say a colleague on my team. So when I do log into EMBR, anything that someone has, or any records that someone has designated as World Read Allowed, I have access to see those cards, so I can search for that information. And then secondly, when someone has chosen to expand the visibility of that meta record or Metacard to not only just EMBR users, but to the entire M&S community, then I go into the M&S Catalog and search there for all records that have been shared with the larger M&S community of interest.
Okay, great. Thanks. Thanks for clarifying that. So we had another question as to the individuals wondering if you'll be adding model data assumptions data and VV and V pedigree to the system.
There is currently, so when in this that's another wonderful question. In this webinar, we covered some of the basic and required fields in EMBR, but there are additional fields that are part of the metadata schema, and one of those fields is a VV&A field where a user can enter VV&A information about a record.
Okay, and you mentioned schema. That's another, actually a follow-up question. Is the EMBR schema available to the registrants?
The MSC DMS, which is the schema that EMBR and the Defense M&S Catalog use, is based on the DDMS schema, and it is available. You are able to search for that through various organizations and locate that schema.
It's
okay,
also available
great.
from the DMSCO website. The
okay,
DMSCO
thank you.
website also makes a link available. You're welcome.
Let's see. One other question was how members from the DoD acquisition community might be able to leverage the products or EMBR to its advantage. Any thoughts on that particular community in particular?
Tammy, did you want to try to take a stab at this one, and
Sure.
then we could maybe speak from an EMBR perspective?
Sure thing. Part of the set of information that gets published to the catalog are the points of contact associated with that resource, whether it be a technical point of contact, developer, manager, proponent, sponsor, organization. So the hope is if there is sufficient information that's been provided that, kind of piques your interest and you're like, I think that that asset could, be of use to us, you would use those points of contact to reach out to obtain additional details.
And we would echo that comment. Obviously, that would allow members of the acquisition community to discover M&S resources that might be viable for the products that they're supporting, and probably, as Tammy mentioned, the point of contacts being one of those very valuable resources because they can not only read a description about the resource, but they can actually reach out and contact the people who are either proponents for it, are users of it, or are the actual developers to gain more information and about the resource itself.
Okay, great. Thanks for answering that. It looks like we've, unless there are any other questions from the audience, it looks like we've hit on all the questions that we've received from the attendees so far. So, is there any other comments the presenters would like to make at this point in time?
I'd like to circle back to one of the original questions about industry participation. We mentioned in the kind of future plans slide of enhancing the catalog search feature. One aspect of that isn't just the local search of Metacards that have been published, but it's really also to extend the federated search capability so that we've identified other sources that exist out there. One of those sources actually could be industry, so that we are either spider crawling or working out some sort of mutual arrangement of querying what that other source of information might be. So I just wanted to throw that out, that it's a possibility, and as part of the users group that will be pulled back together in 2018. We're hoping that those types of requirements and feature set would come to the surface. But I just wanted to mention that.
Oh, that's a great point. Thanks for bringing that up. So, Rachel, Pauline, any other thoughts on your end there?
I don't think that I have anything else that I want to contribute.
No, I can't think of any more information, but since I'm kind of a cheerleader for the product, I just want to say that we just really welcome the folks that are interested in the catalog and in EMBR, and I assist with the help desk. So if anyone has questions after the webinar or as they explore the catalog and EMBR, we're more than happy to assist and answer any questions that anyone might have. Okay,
that's great. Well, I want to thank all of our presenters today for for their time and sharing the information with us. Trying to enlighten us on this valuable resource, and hopefully we can get more people to exposed to it, take advantage of it, and do good things for the community. So once again, thanks. Thank you, ladies, for your valuable presentation today. We very greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you,
okay,
Steve.
Well,
Thanks.
Sure. So that concludes our webinar for today. I'd just like to thank everybody for joining us, and have a good day. And we hope to see you at our webinar next month. Thanks. Bye-bye.